and Member of Parliament for Kingston Western, the Honorable Brian Sykes, Chief Justice of Jamaica, the Honorable Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security, Ambassador Alison Stone Roof, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Errol Green, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Ms. Paula Llewellyn, Director of Public Prosecution, Ms. Carolyn Reed Cameron, our Public Defender, Mr. Andrew Lewis, Deputy Commissioner of Police, representing the Commissioner of Police, His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Andrew Swaby, Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, and other councillors of the municipality, the Reverend Joel Downer, Dr. Judith Mowat, Executive Director of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine, and the staff here, heads of agencies at the Ministry of National Security, Chief Technical Directors and staff of the Ministry of National Security, our architects, Alberga Graham Limited, and other members of the Alberga Graham team, our contractor HDB Construction team, technical consultants and other project partners, other specially invited guests, members of the media. Good morning. Oh Lord, because of the breeze, I don't hear it so well. I want an arousing good morning and welcome to the opening ceremony of the Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite right here on Orange Street. You know, when I Googled the importance of a Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite, the word that came up was indispensable. It said indispensable to crime fighting, and that it was the way that medicine, science, and law would intersect. And I thought that was a very, very powerful thing. And so this morning, we celebrate not just that we have it here in Jamaica, but that it's the first of its kind in the Caribbean. So can we get a round of applause for that, because that is a major achievement. So before we get into our program and telling you so much more about the groundbreaking suite that we have here this morning, I want us to start in prayer. And so I invite the Reverend Joel Downer to join me, and he's pastor of the North Street United Church.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Can we stand together as we invoke the presence of the Almighty in this place? Good morning again, Lord. We lift up your name, acclaiming you as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Throughout the centuries, you have revealed yourself in so many ways to us. And today we stand as a community, as members of this wonderful country, Jamaica, land we love, to celebrate this new groundbreaking opportunity as we seek to continue to deal with the challenges of the poor and vulnerable and those who have security issues. This morning we are so grateful for the conceptualizers, so grateful for those who have partnered with us to ensure that this groundbreaking opportunity can exist right here in downtown Kingston. We are thankful, oh God, for the many challenges that we have as a country. For your word says, in everything we should give you thanks. But even though there are challenges, we are thankful, God, that you are pointing us to opportunities like this one. Help us to deal with these challenges. And so this morning we are celebrating with those who have conceptualized this concept, those who have partnered and ushered it into the place that it is today. And we pray, God, that as this community meet now to celebrate, we are asking you to ensure that the equipment, those who will be working here on staff, all the stakeholders in this facility will come together and remember that we work together for the good of our country and indeed for your people whom you have created. And so we are thankful today for the opportunity, Lord, of being here. We pray you'll continue to bless our country as you continue to offer opportunities to ensure that your people are safe. So we place into your hands all those who are present here. We continue to pray for our security forces and for the wonderful work that they continue to do, for the community of people who continue to support their efforts, and for the fact that as we work together, we see the monster crime being arrested. This is an opportunity to continue this good work. So we pray for the safety of our officers, our security forces. We pray for the safety and the continued work of our leader in the security forces. And we pray that as a country, we'll continue to partner together to improve the lives of every single Jamaican. So, Father, we welcome you here today, and let your will be done. We pray in Jesus' name. And everyone says, amen. Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rev. And Rev, you seem to have brought a wind with you as well. Yes, cool the place a little bit for us. We are lucky. We're going to get the program going very quickly, because coming up next is His Worship the Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Andrew Swaby, and he will be delivering the official welcome. Mayor?
Madam Master of Ceremony, you have able to acknowledge all the VIPs in the room, or I should say under the tent, and you're all VIPs. So let me just say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking the Ministry of National Security for the invitation and for the work that has gone into making today's possible. It's a pleasure to be here at the official opening of what is a critical addition to our national infrastructure, Jamaica's first dedicated Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite. The facility marks a necessary and long overdue step forward in how we approach justice, accountability, and public health. For far too long, families have had to wait for sometimes months for answers in cases involving the loss of their loved ones. That delay does not just affect the families, it affects the courts, the police, and the broader society. So the introduction of this facility is welcome and it is necessary. As Mayor of Kingston, I also want to point out the significance of this development to the capital city. Seeing the importance of this infrastructure, the KCMC had no challenge in providing the land space for it to be constructed. Kingston already bears much of the weight of the country's medical, legal, and forensic system. A facility like this one strengthens the network, and it will hopefully contribute to more timely and credible forensic outcomes. If managed well and supported with the right professionals and resources, it can play a key role in building confidence in our institutions. There is still much work to do. Building infrastructure is one part of the process. Ensuring that it works, and it should. That is, it should be resourced, maintained, and used in a way to put people first, is just as important. And the public must have confidence that when things go wrong, there's a fair, efficient, and reliable process to determine what happened and why. So we must not treat this as the end, but rather the beginning of a modern, transparent, and just system. Let me also take the moment to recognize the professionals, the pathologists, the forensic officers, the administrators, and the support staff who will work within these walls. Your role is critical. You stand at the intersection of science, justice, and public service. You deserve a facility that meets the standard of your work, that your work demands, and the public expect. On behalf of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, I welcome this facility and look forward to continued collaboration, because the people of Kingston and indeed Jamaica deserve nothing but less. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Swaby. Now it's time for some entertainment. Do you feel like some entertainment this morning? Yes, I think so. And who better to entertain us than the children? They're coming to us from the North Street Congregational Primary School. Please put your hands together and make them feel welcome.
But wait there, Sierra!
Me, Harry.
This long time, girl, I never see you. Come make me hold your hand.
So, girl, where you come from?
Girl, you know some friend mother just drop out. I just follow her down at Kingston Public Hospital down at the Autopsy Suite.
Autopsy Suite.
So, girl, you tell me I know KPH have them own Autopsy Suites? Them are the first hospital in the Caribbean for have them own Autopsy Suites.
So that means the big things are going now country then.
Yeah, girl.
Jamaica, nice.
Oh,
Sweet Jamaica. Oh.
I think they deserve a bigger round of applause than that. You heard the children. Girl, big things are going for Jamaica. Isn't that right? Yeah, man. Jamaica, nice. One more time for the North Street Congregational Primary School. And now coming up to the podium will be our Deputy Commissioner of Police, representing the Commissioner here this afternoon, Mr. Andrew Lewis.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Member of Parliament, Honorable Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, Minister of State and in the Ministry of National Security, Honorable Brian Sykes, Chief Justice of Jamaica, Ms. Paula Llewellyn, Director of Public Prosecutions, Ambassador Alison Stone-Roof, and my good friend, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, His Worship, Councillor Andrew Swaby, Mayor of Kingston, Reverend Joel Downer, Pastor, North Street United Church, senior officers and members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, distinguished permanent secretaries, heads of agencies and departments, other distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I notice we are getting some much needed blessing from above. I'm happy for that. I know the country needs it. And as I watch the children perform their piece, I could not help but think that in that small group, we may have a future Prime Minister, we may have a Chief Justice, we may have a Director of Public Prosecutions, we may have a Commissioner of Police. And from my own experience, I remember when I came to Kingston in 1976, and people asked me what school I went to, and I told them St. Catherine High School, and they said, "Isn't that a girls' school?" And I got that a lot until I stopped telling people what school I went to. But I want the record to show that we have produced a Prime Minister today. I bring you humble greetings from the High Command and the hard-working men and women of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake, the erudite one, I know he wanted to be here to witness and to be a part of this historic occasion, but unfortunately his official duties have rendered him unavailable. Nevertheless, the JCF is here. We are here in numbers. If you look around, you'll see our police officers smartly dressed in their new blue uniform. It's a debate. And we consider ourselves a major link in the crime fighting and crime prevention apparatus of the state. We are truly delighted for this day. We, the stakeholders, and I'm talking about all of us, we should be grateful that the government, who we know doesn't have unlimited resources, has chosen to provide us with a facility like this for the benefit of the entire country. 1970, I am told, is the last time we had a state-owned autopsy facility. And I know someone will correct me if I have gotten the date wrong. The JCF plans to use this facility as part of our strategic homicide reduction plan. This facility will allow us to close cases faster, conduct speedier investigation, conclusively identifying cause of death and suspects means for us improved clear-up rates, speedier trials, and more convictions in the courts, leading to more guilty offenders being placed behind bars in correctional facilities and an overall reduction in crime. Ladies and gentlemen, the shift towards a more crime-free society is happening. It's happening now. And a facility like this will help to keep it sustained. As we sit here today, we are experiencing a 44.6% reduction in murders. That is, thank you very much. That is 239 less people losing their lives due to the efforts of all the stakeholders who form the crime fighting and crime reduction apparatus. We are experiencing a 20% reduction in overall major crimes, and I know the minister will tell you a lot more about it. These reductions are not just statistics to be glossed over. They represent the country's resolve to treat with a problem that we have had for over 3 decades. As a matter of fact, we now have the full attention of the skeptics who formed the view that Jamaica was forever trapped in an endless cycle of crime and violence? Well, it is investments like this that you see here. Beautiful. When I entered, I forgot that I was downtown. We will not give up. We have signaled to the rest of the world and the country at large that we have not given up, and we will not stop until the crime monster is slayed. And there are many other investments that we, the JSF, we are looking forward to. We are looking forward to the completion of a state-of-the-art divisional headquarters in Westmoreland. I am told it is almost 50% complete. Another state-of-the-art headquarters has broken ground in Spanish Town. There's a state-of-the-art headquarters that is to be built in St. James to house our special operations in the western side of the island. We are now awarding the contract for the provision of a C5 command and control center, the first of its kind in the West Indies. And the list goes on. We are making serious progress. We are on track this year with the reductions that we are experiencing, and we continue to drive to becoming one of the safest places in the Caribbean and Latin America. The JCF is committed to a vision where Jamaica is the safest place in the Western Hemisphere. And I believe my time is up. So Jamaica wishes for everyone that has contributed to making this facility a reality. Much thanks. I look forward to touring the facility and engaging with all of you. Thank you very much.
No, I think he deserves a bigger round of applause than that. Because we know when the crime figures go up, there's cause for concern. When it goes down, there is reason for celebration. And we must congratulate all the people that have made it happen. So one more time. Thank you, sir, and the Ministry of National Security. The safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to turn your attention to the screens because we have a video presentation for you. And what you will see are comments and remarks about the autopsy suite. You're going to learn some more about why we are here today. So, to the screens.
Historic step forward for national security, justice, science, and public health. Jamaica now leads the Caribbean in forensic advancement. The Ministry of National Security officially opens the state-of-the-art Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite built to international standards and designed to meet the growing needs of a modern justice system.
Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine is a critical institution in the entire security architecture and a part of the Plan Secure Jamaica program. It's critical because it is important that when criminals are apprehended, we can take them to court with irrefutable evidence and have successful prosecution.
We have designed a building that is 1,500 square meters, which comes out at about 16,700 square feet. We have parking for 43 cars. We have covered areas for places like when the bodies are brought in, they brought them under the shade, take them into the area where they weigh the bodies, and then they take them into the cooler rooms. This particular room is what I consider the engine of the entire building, where 10 people who would work in here as pathologists, totaling 120 bodies can hold in this building. So, for example, if you have an earthquake and we have problems in the country, this building can't stop. It has every backup that we can say to make sure that nothing stops. It has to run. And there's a lot of equipment and rooms. Also, how people come into the building. The police are properly positioned that they can control anybody coming into the building. Also, there are cards that some people can allow into some areas, others can't. So those are the kind of things that go on. It is very sophisticated.
Jamaica has not had a national, public morgue since the 1970s. My understanding is that the facility was destroyed by fire. Now, What this really meant is that we were conducting, postmortems in private funeral homes, in an unregulated industry. And when you consider the justice and security implications of that, there was really a need to have this facility in place at the earliest opportunity.
This project was started in October 2021, to be exact, the 14th of October. My experience with this, I think I've learned a lot on this building. Being the first building of its kind in the Caribbean, and it's a unique building. Most of us, if not all of us who work on this building, see it as being unique to the country.
Students, policemen who can come, look at what the pathologists are working on, and we can ask questions as they work along. And that applies here as well. This particular one behind us is really the one that the police use. And if they have questions, they can talk to the pathologists from the room up there and make their own notes, because all of that sometimes comes into the courts.
There is a nexus between security, economic, and social development. No doubt about that, right? What this facility will do is to contribute in a very meaningful way in improving the investigative capacity of law enforcement and all the other entities, within the justice system, the courts, to have access to forensic certificates in a timely manner to ensure that the right perpetrators, are brought to justice. You can see how it will actually strengthen security, justice, and by extension, economic and social progress.
There is no doubt that a quality criminal justice system is important for national development. And that's what the Autopsy Suite brings to the table.
It's going to be groundbreaking for our country in terms of the national security implication.
Ultra-modern facility, certainly the best in the Caribbean.
This facility is more than modern equipment. It is a testament that the government remains steadfast in its commitment to truth, accountability, and the pursuit of justice.
It's more than just a building. It's more than just a building that we're celebrating today. We are celebrating the pursuit of justice. We're celebrating national development. So many things happening today. Another round of applause for everyone who is a part of bringing this to reality. I know a big part and a big support of this process is the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, and I want to take this opportunity to recognize the presence of Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, the Permanent Secretary within the ministry. Thank you so much, PS, for being with us this afternoon, as we invite to deliver his remarks the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, CD, MP, JP, Minister of Local Government and Community Development and Member of Parliament for Kingston Western.
Thank you, Madam Masters of Ceremonies. First of all, let me acknowledge the Deputy Prime Minister, colleague Minister Cuthbert Finn, the Chief Justice, Permanent Secretaries, Madam Director of Public Prosecutions, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I want to say a special welcome to each and every one. Welcome to the constituency of West Kingston, the Denham Town Division. I am happy this morning because when I became a councillor in 1977, it was about 3 years before I became a councillor that the morgue at the bottom of Darling Street was destroyed by fire. Since that time, we have seen many fallouts, because one of the things that have occurred, because we had no public morgue, was a mushrooming of undertakers right across the country, especially here in the corporate area. You're surprised to know that in West Kingston alone, the last count we did gave us 45 funeral homes. And that represents the greater portion that exists in the corporate area. What this institution will do is to allow persons who never had contacts. So when an autopsy is to be done, if you don't know someone who can talk for you, who can put in an argument for you, the wait would be long. This is a commitment that the government made since 2007 when I was mayor. I advocated strongly to the then Prime Minister, the Honorable Bruce Golding. And in 2011, I made similar representations to the Honorable Portia Simpson Miller. Because as the mayor rightly said, this land belongs to the KSAC. And the KSAC is a critical part of public health. And we believe that a collective response of government, both at local and central government, is responsible for this outstanding achievement here this morning. Never before in Jamaica's history or in the Caribbean can anybody boast of a facility of this nature. And I am glad that it is situated in West Kingston. And why I'm glad? Because we have the largest hospital, the largest maternity hospital, the blood bank. 80% of our medical facilities exist in West Kingston. And the Minister of Health, in his sectorial presentation, spoke about the plans for the new look KPH. The United Congregational Students says good things are happening for Jamaica. It is starting here in West Kingston with this facility. I want to use the opportunity to commend the contractor and also the community who was involved in the construction. I can say without fear of contradiction, when we had the groundbreaking, I gave a commitment to the minister and to the audience that the only done on the project is the contractor, because there would be no one collecting an envelope without working for it. The contract was done on time and in budget. And this is something that we must be proud of, because people feel that when work of this magnitude comes into community such as this, you have to pay somebody in order for the work to be undertaken. There was no security payments that was made. There was no extortion money that was paid. Anybody who worked got a job and worked and earn a living from this construction. And I want to commend the community. And so this morning, I am happy to be a part of this groundbreaking event. I believe that this places Jamaica on top of the ladder. We have seen significant improvements in every aspect of Jamaica's life. And the reason why we are here today, Mayor Swaby, is because of the steady hands of a government who understands what it takes to manage the economy. If we never had the money, we couldn't do what we have done today. It takes cash to care and a steady hands. God bless you and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Minister Mackenzie. Listen, Jamaica little but with Talawa. And he mentioned the Victoria Jubilee, KPH. Listen, we are able to compete with the best in the world and to say that we are among the best in the world right here in West Kingston. Put your hands together again for the minister and the member of parliament. You know what West Kingston is also so good at? Talent. And coming up next is a group that for decades have been a big part of the artistry of Jamaica. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome the Tivoli Dance Troupe.
You want to be the key, bobo, to be the corner, give me corner, my dealer, me a banga, best it up. Yeah, my Jenny girl, oh, the girl, them a banga, yeah. You want to be the key, bobo, to be the corner, my dealer, me a banga, best it boy. My Jenny girl, oh, the girl, them a banga, yeah. You granny, oh, my lemme banga, African river mama, African konya, changi nangi ball, the body when the man who banga. You want to be the key, bobo, to be the corner. Me a banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny girl, oh, the girl ma banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny go my the girl ma banga langa ya. Baby, you the one. Malembe panga, malembe kenta, malembe gini mieta, malembe ancestors. Sangi nangi balo, ya belong kondo manu kaganga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo. Come on, madila me a banga langa ya. Oh, my Jenny girl, oh, the girl ma banga. Yeah, man, you need to man, Jenny mama, my Jenny Kenta, my Jenny Gomasita, Sabina Kondo, yes, a boy, yes. Responsibility, Bobo, Sabina Kondo. Come on, my dear, me a tonga langa, Betty boy. My Jenny Jallo, the girl, my banga langa, ya. You granny, my lemme panga, African river mama, African konya. When the man who banga, you want to be the kibubu, to be the corner. Come on, my dear, me a banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny girl, oh, the girl ma banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny go my the girl ma banga langa ya. Baby, you the one. Malembe panga, malembe kenta, malembe gini mieta, malembe ancestors. Sangi nangi balo, ya belong kondo man who banga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the corner. Madila mi banga langa ya. Oh, my Jenny jalo, the jalo ma banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny go my langa ya. My Jenny mama, my Jenny kenta, my Jenny go my sita, sabila kondo yes a boy yes. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo, give me come, madila mi banga langa best it up. Yeah, my Jenny jalo, the jalo ma banga langa ya. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo. You me a tonga langa Betty boy. My Jenny Jallo, the girl ma banga langa ya. You granny, my lemme panga, African river mama, African konya. Nangi nangi balo, the body when the man who banga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the corner. Come on, my dear, me a banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny Jallo, the girl ma banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny go my the girl ma banga langa ya. Belong kondo man who banga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo. Come on, madila me a banga langa ya. Oh, my Jenny jalo, the girl ma banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny go my langa, kondo my Jenny ya. My Jenny mama, my Jenny kenta, my Jenny go my sita, to belong kondo yes a boy yes. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo. Come on, madila me a banga langa ya. Yeah, my Jenny jalo, the girl ma banga. You want to be the kibubu, to be a kondo. Come on, my dear, me a tonga langa Betty boy. My Jenny Jallo, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. The candy yo, my love panga. African river mama, African cordia. Nangi ball on the body when the man no ganga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the corner. Come mama, do me a banga langa ya ya. Yeah, my Jenny Jallo, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. Yeah, my Jenny do my girl, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. Let me hear the word. Malembe panja, malembe kenta, malembe gini makeup, malembe ancestors. Sangi nangi balo, ya belong kondo manu kaganga. You want to be the kibubu, to be the kondo. Come mama, do me a banga langa ya ya. Oh, my Jenny Jallo, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. Yeah, my Jenny do my girl, my kondo manu ya ya. Majeni mama, majeni kenta, majeni go mazita, sabili kondo yeto boye. You want sabili kibubu, sabili kondo. Come mama, do me a banga langa ya ya. Yeah, majeni jalo, the jalo banga langa ya ya. Oh, majeni go mazita, the jalo banga langa ya ya. Sabili kibubu, sabili kondo, kimi kondo, mama, do me a banga langa besito. Oh, majeni jalo, the jalo banga langa ya ya. Oh, majeni go mazita, majona, majeni jalo. African river mama, malembe kenta, malembe panga. You want ability bubu, ability kondo. Come mama, do me a banga langa ya ya. Yeah, my Jenny Jallo, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. Oh, my Jenny Jallo, the girl them a banga langa ya ya. Malembe butanto, malembe kento boy, malembe gini mi kahot.
Some traditional folk forms there from the multi-award winning Tivoli dance troupe. And I got to tell you that there are members of the dance troupe who are coaching and training other schools all across Jamaica, winning awards all across the world from right here, Tivoli dance troupe. Give them another round of applause for me. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard quite a bit. Jamaica has not had a national public morgue since the 1970s. Wow. And we're standing here today. And so it is my pleasure to welcome our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security to deliver the main address, Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, OJ.
I was advised to walk on this side, and it was my age otherwise. I use the steps. Not. Very special event this morning, but I must say before I recognize the guests, my forensic pathology is a very specialized area of medicine. And I must relate my first incident because in the old days, Chief Justice, it was before your time actually. District medical officers were asked to do forensic work. So when you're out in the country and there's a sudden death or any kind, you'll be asked to do the report for courts. I had the experience as a young medical officer to do over 100, in fact near 200 in Hanover. But my first one I want to relate, I will never forget. My wife's birthday is the 9th of September. My mother-in-law got married on the 10th of September. So on a weekend, when they were celebrating, I get called about 10 a.m. on a drive to my mother-in-law's home, who's, I would relate, is certainly my favorite place to eat for many reasons. But on the way halfway there, I get a call. Dr. Chang would like you to see a case in Chester Castle. And of course, I went there and there was a body in the field and some banana trees, and a fairly middle-aged gentleman. He was about 10 to 12 days gone. Now, I don't want to describe to you what that exactly means in pathological terms. Right? It's about the most difficult stage you'd want to meet that case, because when they go beyond that, you meet upon their basically dried out in it, but he's at the peak of decomposition, literally. And I had to go and, of course, perform my first autopsy on the field. I tell you, you got you did not have all the equipment that you should have here, and you can imagine when I opened the first opening I made, I had a flock of interesting creatures coming out at me. But that was my first autopsy, and told you, of course, not only the interest of forensic science, but and what it was then, the state of it then, as compared to today, when this morning we gather to open our National Autopsy Suite. And the name, of course, different than Mr. Mackenzie indicated. We have not had a public morgue, but it's not a public morgue, it's an autopsy suite designed to be used by specialists, the pathologists trained and part of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine to provide you with a modern facility to do the proper investigation after death to ensure we can have the evidence and the correct certified evidence to take to court. Allow me, of course, to recognize the many distinguished guests here this morning. I heard in the comment that quite a distinguished team would be here to see witness opening of this institution. Not just, I'm not sure it's because Mr. Mackenzie invited down to West Kingston and everybody wanted to come here, but the importance of the Forensic Pathology Suite. Our chairperson, Ms. Harris. First, let me welcome my colleague, Mr. Desmond Mackenzie, Member of Parliament and Minister of Local Government, and of course, the Honorable Justice Brian Sykes, head of the judicial branch of government in the country. My colleague, Minister Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security, our Permanent Secretary, and the real top dog in the Ministry of National Security. See, I tell them that. Ambassador Alistair Stoneroof, our Permanent Secretary. She keeps all those big, heavy units in order. The Jamaica Consular Force, the Jamaica Defense Force, MOCA, Forensic Institute, trafficking people, and all the things that go together. And then she has to relate to my good friend, the Director of Public Prosecution, Ms. Paula Llewellyn, who is always waiting to ensure that you have the right information to get there and that we provide the required support. Pleasure to have here Mr. Lewis, Deputy Commissioner representing our Commissioner of Police. Good to have here Mr. Andrew Lewis, who heads the administrative side and arm of the Jamaica Consular Force, but one of the critical players, one of the critical leaders in our Jamaica Consular Force. Today, His Worship, come a bit far down in the protocol list, come a bit higher. The first citizen, I understand, when you're in Kingston, Councillor Swaby, who spoke before, and of course we have our public defender here, Ms. Caroline Reed Cameron, Dr. Judith Mowat, and I have to mention Mr. Phipps, our Assistant Commissioner for the area, our pastor who gave us this in prayer, and of course Ms. Judith Mowat, who is the head of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. Not last but not least anyway, as the lady who keeps this institution going and provides particular technical skills and leadership for the entire team in the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. Dr. Moore, thank you for the work I've been doing, and I'm sure she's very pleased this morning when at the stage this has reached as a forensic unit. It means a lot to the professionals who work in that unit and department, and for not only for the person there, but for their contribution to the criminal justice system, which I'll speak to later. There are many specially invited guests, the media, and everyone is here. I guess the understanding of what this autopsy suite means to the entire system. As I said in my little comment before, which was used to advertise the space, it is a critical unit in the entire criminal justice system. I've learned very clearly since I'm in this ministry, not only the value of having a credible criminal justice system, but how it operates. It's like a circle. And while in the public space, we are pretty much aware of the police officer on the road, especially as they used to say in the old days, but now they're in their lovely blue uniforms. The red seam officer, of course, was the image of law enforcement on the road. And of course, you had the judges in courts who used to wear some fancy wigs and look very distant from everybody else and away from the crowd and the people. and operates like from on high. I'll tell you what's happening. The criminal justice system is far more complex and involved than that, and involves quite a cross-section of professionals, starting, of course, as I said, with our police officers who must be on the road to apprehend, then look for the required evidence with the help of specialist individuals, and prepare the case to take to prosecution, Mr. Llewellyn, who can take it to court and convince the judges or in many cases the judges or the jury what the case is, and then they may be released or they go to the correctional service to be rehabilitated and returned to community. It's a circle. In the middle of all of that stands the forensic science, because unless you can take quality evidence to the court, your system cannot work. That's just a fact of life, and in fact, it's not blaming judges and blaming witnesses and accusing lawyers of doing all kind of things that they are not able to do. If you have credible, quality professional evidence, that's the key to a successful prosecution of any case. And that's what this does today to bring this, rather than being under a banana tree trying to tie a curtain around the nose and look how quickly do I get out of that space and tell the police officer, who I had a lot of sympathy for, I must tell you, because among the reasons I went there in that state is that I was told that unless I went and gave some certification about death, the policeman have to stay there until someone come, and they have to stand within sight of the body, ensuring that it is not disturbed. And whether he smells or what he smells, you have to find a way to stand there. Whether I come within 24 hours or 48 or 7 days, he has to stay there. And when the doctor gets there, the DMO indicate, look, I've seen enough, done enough, you can leave. And there's a lot of sympathy for the officers. The situation is obviously changing at this point. So it's my really pleasure and delight to stand here this morning on Orange Street to declare, to have the official opening of this facility. It is one, again, of long-standing, indicated by others who have spoken, but I'll make, a Chief Justice with whom I have a good relationship sent me just this week a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I had to refer to it because the execution of this project, which is crucial to the National Development Program, is one that has many of the challenges that we face in the country. And of course, Minister Mackenzie indicated that maybe at the bottom of it, you have to have money to make it work. And we started this time with Mayor Swavey, right? As the former Member of Parliament would often say in this era, it takes cash to care. But we had to identify the funding. But again, even when we identified it, it took some while, because I think Mr. Mackenzie, a contract was actually offered at one point, $45 million. The cost today is $680 million. But in this process, we started in 2007. We had to get this ownership of land sought over the KSAC. That took a process of ensuring and identifying the property properly, and through the various surveys, etc. Then go to the process of the Public Investment Appraisal Board to justify it was there, although it was, some would say it was naturally justified, but we have to go through the process to ensure we can show to the country that we manage our money well, and that the amount of money we're going to spend would not be, there would not be any waste, but in fact very justified in transforming the Institute of Forensic Science into a fine science institution. So it started really in 2007, at which time I had a little different approach. I wasn't associated with the Ministry of National Security, but I was aware of it because housing had something to do with the land down here at KSAC and all kind of things to get the land settled. Eventually we got it settled and we were able to proceed and provide us with a state-of-the-art autopsy suite at 149 Orange Street, critical to the entire process of the criminal justice system. The design was outlined by architect, but we then went on to outline what is required here. We still have a few challenges because, as I said, forensic science is not the most attractive area for a lot of people, and there are critical players, however. It's not just doctors. Our autopsies, our pathologists, when they get trained, ship off to all over the world. It's not just in Jamaica, they're short. They get good money and they ship off for more than it costs. In fact, I think of the last 7, as Dr. Morty confirmed, I think one is in Germany. It's back on someone, but they're all over the world though, besides doing private practice. And of course, the forensic unit has several other key professionals in there. Dr. Mortar serves as a microbiologist, I think, by training, a scientist in their own right, and there are several. It has a DNA lab that is critical to the entire operation, the biochemistry, and all the analysis that is analytical process that is required when you have a critical death of any kind. So whether it is poison, gunshot, sudden death, or otherwise, the forensics, the legal medicine unit have the facilities to deal with the issue. In fact, we have recently in the process of building this suite, we had expanded the DNA storage facility, which is now up and running, and we have a very good, not only an excellent facility in terms of DNA data center, so to speak, for use of a non-technical, and we also have the ballistic center up there where we store the island's ballistic data for all legal firearms in the country and those we find illegal as well, so we can get the data required. We have all government firearms are stored there, the private ones are stored, and of course the police use it, and I can assure we have an excellent ballistic unit. When all of these scientific data is put together, scientists put their work together, of course, we now provide data for the courts. That's an area we'll work on how we can improve this speed at which we deliver. That requires having all adequate staff, just waiting the required data in order to pursue prosecution. And when we have things like what I described at the beginning, it could take months, sometimes years, to get the data together. As we complete the development of the legal medicine unit, we expect that we can deliver quality prosecuting evidence, even in complex cases, in a quickly and timely manner to the courts, so the courts can proceed, the prosecutors can proceed with their case, the courts get to an end, and we have judgment and continue to move, and not overcrowding and delays in the criminal justice system. Indeed, there's also justice delayed. It's certain. That's my lawyer repeating for there, but it's just not desirable. In the process of getting this suit together, there are a number of people which to comment on. The Ministry of National Security had to carry through the entire process, from having gotten the land or sought out the process of getting the land from the KCAC, which was not difficult but tedious. Then getting the approvals, getting everything in place, and then proceeding with construction. Procurement, of course, the challenge when you do a big project. And there's a little department, the Ministry of National Security, headed by our Chief Technical Director, Mr. Simpson, who has mastered the art of doing this. It wasn't an easy task. We started early, and I've said elsewhere that the Ministry of National Security was spending budget of well under $1 billion, in fact, $200 million in capital, which meant repairing police stations and doing a few things here and there to keep the system going. You know, like you have a second-hand car, you buy one tire this month, and next month you have to fix the radiator, and you have a little money to do it, and then you buy a make-over tire. That's kind of money you're spending on the unit. We decided as a government that we would invest in a police force and in the entire criminal justice system. We set about to identify, despite of the restraints we had in terms of the financial state of the economy, and to put serious investment in. What you have to realize, to move from $200 million, in fact, that was the level of investment in the police, in the security force before. In fact, prior to 2011, it was maybe a few hundred, then it became about $1 billion, but we set out to invest, and annually we invested as a government over $9 billion per year. Now, to spend that kind of money and go through a procurement process, trust me, that's like moving through the biblical needle's eye. And I have to commend the team led by Mr. Simpson and the technical team for really took us through all of this. We may question many layers for public investment approval, but it's necessary. But like everything else in government, it's an evolutionary process. I think when it was too loose, there were too many charges of misappropriation, misspent, even when it was so. You have to create a system that is more transparent and effective. I think now where we are, we have to look at making it more efficient. That's why I like my book, The Principle of Execution, Discipline, Justice, because a lot of things, many things we are doing in Jamaica, we have taken to a stage where we seek to establish a strong system. But it's an evolving and developing country that needs to operate at a faster speed to effect the development we need. We have to maintain the transparency, the integrity, but we have to ensure greater efficiency. So the next step in all of this is look at how we can retain all these features that have been brought in the public investment approval process, but improve the level and speed of implementation and the quality. All the agents, as I said, in all of this, you should appear, there's a lot of discussion now, the Integrity Commission, in PIAB, the Ministry of Finance, everybody takes an interest in what's happening, and I think everybody in this case deserves to be commended, and we're happy to have the Autopsy Suite today. Now, the Autopsy Suite, as I said, is a critical player in our criminal justice system. And what do I mean by that? Because while we are seeing the success of the police, and we have to commend Mr. Lewis and the team and the other officers here, for the significant reduction in homicides and general criminal activity, the restoration of a level of public order on the street. And as we get there, we will say we did not overbuild Dr. Mowat. It will only mean that with less violence, the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine can proceed more speedily and efficiently in the work they do. So we thank Mr. Lewis for doing that, so you don't have 1,000 homicides to investigate in the year. You know, pathology, from the point of view of a district medical officer, you know, a different ballgame. The country should realize when you have 1,000 murders to do, each one for autopsy will take anywhere on average from 6 to 10 weeks or more, depending on the case involved. Am I right, Dr. Mowat? But a minimum of 6 weeks to have a good autopsy report and a fatal body. At 1,000, you can look at multiply the number of man-hours at 1,400, how much it takes, and why you can get delays in going to court and challenges and the pressure it puts on the doctors and the biologists, biochemists, and other scientists that are involved to get this done. So the police in reduced numbers makes it a little bit, not a bit easier, but more efficient, which is why the entire system is linked. You have a backlog of some 20,000 cases. This facility can take about 150 bodies, I understand, and which will make it easier to access and prevent the scattering around the island when you have certain morgues will not be very happy. We pay for them at the end, but they're not very happy because the way they manage even the dead is not in keeping with, it's not very humane. You go there and trust me, even though there might be criminals that are there, it is not appropriate to see any element of humanity in those conditions. So it's really, it's just a major addition, a welcome addition to be reflected in our growth as a civilized society. So the reduction in violence, the way we treat everything to do with this aspect of society. So this, with storage for 150 cases, it will allow us to be prepared for even major accidents. So we don't wish to have any, but in any situation where we are caught and run for whatever case, whether it is be an epidemic, hope there none comes, accident, or an unfortunate event anywhere in the inner city, the autopsy suite can handle volume, which is, we hope we have all the professionals in place, but it certainly cannot appreciate that. We don't have to rely on the legal, on the funeral homes, which do not have the appropriate facilities for medical legal investigation. We have been able to continue and manage it, but I'm sure very soon as this facility opens, the lawyers who will come here will begin to have a second thought about when they get cases from the public morgue or any other morgue at all or any other facility out there, because they do not have the appropriate facilities. And in a difficult case, a good lawyer can raise challenges. In fact, in some jurisdictions, you have lawyers who do, you have doctors who do law after they do medicine. And you get a lawyer who understands the medical field, and you take the difficult autopsy or a complex autopsy in a private funeral home, you could get into serious challenge when you go on the bench. This facility provides the appropriate facilities and we'll be able to give you a certain level of certitude in your quality evidence, and definitely much better technical, not only technical quality, but the entire presentation of cases become far more raised to another standard. Of course, when we go into the private morgue, it costs a fortune, despite the quality. So it saves some significant money. Postmortem will be conducted 7 days a week in a facility of the sort, and Minister Mackenzie, I hope everything you have said about West Kingston will hold true. Mr. Phipps assured me we have an extremely low level of violence on the town, and the level of crime victimization is extremely low, and my staff from Dr. Moore can come and stay here 7 days a week, work hard, and get the work done as required. So we'll have much more efficient outcome. In addition to that, this provides, in completing the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine unit from the other facility at Hope, which is a scientific institution with biochemistry, anatomical features, the forensic center, and all is required, the DNA storage. We have to have the autopsy. You can actually train, have a facility to begin to train our own forensic scientists in Jamaica. They can work in the institute for internship. They can work, before they get fully qualified. Even if some of the specialists, they have to travel, they can get a lot of the training and exposure right here in Jamaica, which is critical to building out the professionals required to ensure we have a quality institute that is available for the development of the forensic services. I suspect very soon it will become critical not just for Jamaica, but in the Caribbean will have the facility that they can come here and we can share with our Caribbean brothers training and exposure that is more relevant to the ecosystem they operate in. Because the Caribbean is, whatever our differences are, we have a different culture from the developed societies, and therefore Jamaica now has a forensic legal institute that can provide exposure and training to all our Caribbean friends and brothers, and in fact raise the quality of our jurisprudence. That's what it does in the long run. And that it is among the best now with the completion of the suite, and once Dr. Moore takes over the next few weeks, set up and get it working with what is at Hope, you will have not only a complete forensic institute, but one of the finest in the region and the Western Hemisphere, and the most modern and effective. It reflects our commitment, I said, to transform the entire criminal justice system. We have worked together in building out and introducing technology. We have expanded the police force. We're now at 14,000. But not the numbers that matters, I think, is, as Deputy Commissioner Lewis will tell you, they have introduced a raft of training facility, not only for police work, but in leadership and management, to ensure that we have quality leadership at all levels in the police force, and quality technical competence. So that transformation is going on. We'll provide the technological features, I think, next week after next. They'll be having another display at the arena, and the new things brought into place, because basic technological stuff for force multipliers, we work with the Chief Justice to see how fast you can get this court management system up and going, that we can have, again, in the technological field, a complete circle. That the information that is identified and caught by the police on the road from the ticketing machine that he has will go through the process, that it can go right through the revenue center, as that's a revenue enter, to the court's office, and that the judges can make their decision quickly with quality, credible evidence available, and if they're going to be a fixed fine, it's done, and they get the matter complete in minutes, literally. If the person challenges the fixed fine regime, is going to court, Chief Justice can set up his program, have trial, that time the man, and have the data available at the fingertip of the judge and the platform. You no longer, just like the police at the big book, very heavy stuff walking around, which we have displayed, which are eliminating. You know, judges had the thing of writing to these long, they're not as famous as the police officers, but they had to sit and write long thesis. And when you want to recover information, you go through files and files, and you hope that the rain didn't fall and the courthouse leaking and the paper gets soaked. And you have to start over again sometime. And it went on. All that is changing, and it is this government's commitment to ensure that we have a criminal justice system that can function efficiently and really bring true justice to the wider class of people. It doesn't mean there cannot be mistakes and there won't be challenges in the system. We're all human, and it takes a human being to put the input into the computer, but we will have a system that we can be proud of and that provide good quality service to our people. The police itself, in addition to all the things they're doing, is establishing within their own ranks a forensic services branch headed by a young assistant commissioner of police. I think he's acting now, who understands investigation and will be able to bring to the courts and to the Ms. Llewellyn in particular, the prosecutors, even better prepared in evidence, so that when they go to court they feel much less, well, they can come themselves as young officers who don't feel intimidated by the strong prosecutors who, when they are on the forefront, they are the knights of the round table, you know. Mr. will tell you, of the system. So the policemen must have their things together. So today's opening of the autopsy suite, I repeat, is not only a completion of the development of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine, but another major step in taking our criminal justice system to a new level, a level that is compatible with the state of development. And not only the system itself required, was important in our development as a country. In closing, I must make another personal experience recently. I had to meet with a major investor. He had major investor. He was looking, he was formerly the head of an investment bank and now taking over a project in Jamaica which requires investment to the tune of over $1 billion US. $1 billion US. And we had breakfast, and we had a very pleasant discussion, but he asked about many things, and his conclusion was, well, Minister, you have indicated you have spent about over $80 billion US on the police. You have introduced new technology. You have provided better police stations and spent money preparing that. You have provided them with communication. You are providing a level of technological invention that will increase the technological support that will increase efficiency, from communication to computers. And my understanding is some of that is also being directed towards other sections of the criminal justice system. I said, yes. And he looked at me very, very casually. He said, well, you know, that's good news. And you have had some good outcomes. I expect with that kind of investment, the outcome will continue. And I'll tell my colleagues, investors, that. So it is, other times, I said, we are very preoccupied with just the immediacy. But the entire ecosystem of the country, the justice system, education, all the day provides the foundation to build our country. And that's what we have set out to do as a government. And I'm very pleased today that we have brought this to a conclusion after a long and tedious journey. My MP said 1970s. And we continued. So Justice, Chief Justice Sykes ought to say, I will read your book on the 4 disciplines of execution, and us will try to pass the one. But I have a very assiduous permanent secretary, Ambassador Alstone, who handles it in her own right, have maybe learned some of those things already, sir, and I take her advice. As you see, as the political head, I am advised, rather than that. And she has really well led a fine team in the Ministry of National Security, which has been able to execute in a critical area of government. And we have spent, I'm not saying it's perfect, but we have spent major public funds without any unnecessary questions being asked about it. I have to commend her and the team. So let me express my further thanks to every individual and institution that contributed to this transformative project. I commend the extraordinary efforts of the team from the Ministry of National Security, in particular, Mr. Simsu, Chief Technical Director, who reports directly to the Permanent Secretary, and his team, for the exemplary work in navigating the many layers of public investment, approval, and construction implementation. Their contribution reflects the gold standard public service professionalism required to run our government and make it more efficient. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a historic milestone, not only in terms of physical infrastructure,
but in the enhancement of our national capacity to deliver justice. Uphold the rule of law, secure the safety of our people, and may this facility serve its purpose with excellence and integrity for generations to come. I want to thank all of you, and we look forward to the opening and full activity at the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine, Dr. Mowat. Again, thank you all for your work.
Let's hear it one more time for Minister. Wow. You know, one of the first things that the Minister brought to our attention is the number of dignitaries that are here today, and that demonstrates the importance of why we're here. Also, that it is critical to the entire justice system. It's science and technology at work, oiling the wheels as the men and women in the security forces and across the justice system ensure that justice is served. Post-mortem, 7 days a week. No man, no clap for that. A lot of families will be happy to hear that. Also training and internship possibilities so that we can sustain quality of forensic services and that the system is here to provide quality service to the people of Jamaica. Thank you very much, Minister, for that. We've been hearing her name quite a lot. The Executive Director of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. And I'm going to invite her to join me now, Dr. Judith Mowat, as she delivers the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for Dr. Mowat.
Good afternoon and welcome. Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security. Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development and Member of Parliament. Honorable Brian Sykes, Chief Justice. Honorable Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security. Ambassador Stone Roof, our Permanent Secretary. Other distinguished guests to include the managers from the Forensic Science, Institute of Forensic Science, our forensic pathologists, our morgue staff, members of staff from the Ministry of National Security, and other persons present here today. In 2009, at a legal medicine conference held at the Police Officers Club, a presentation was given by a then Detective Sergeant C. Anderson. And I was stuck at that point because that Mr. Anderson is here with us today, and now he's a deputy superintendent. So I was struggling not to recall him or mention him by his current rank. But then, in 2009, he was a sergeant. And he gave a presentation at that conference we held at the Police Officers Club. And his presentation was entitled, Challenges at Autopsy. The presentation gave graphic details of the challenges faced by the police, but more specifically of the challenges faced by our forensic pathologists who had to conduct autopsies to determine the cause and manner of death, collect evidence for further forensic analysis and examination. He highlighted then that one of the major challenges faced by the pathologists, and to a certain extent the investigators, was the absence of a public morgue. Specifically, a government-owned facility where forensic autopsies could be conducted. 3 years later, in May 2012, at a forensic pathology conference held at the University of the West Indies, in discussing forensic services in Jamaica, I also highlighted the fact that the absence of a public morgue was still a barrier to us delivering the optimal services required by our stakeholders. In fact, Dr. Nadia Williams, pathologist and UE lecturer, reinforced the point in her presentation and stated she placed a slide on the screen entitled "The Field of Dreams," and she said to us, to the audience, if you build it, they will come. In 2021, almost 12 years to the date of that LAM conference, we gathered at this site for the groundbreaking ceremony. Today marks a major milestone in that, despite delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, we are here at the opening ceremony for the Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite. We did build it, and it is the honor of a lifetime to recognize and thank those who have gotten us to this point. So I'd like to start with Minister Chang, our Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, who has been an unwavering champion for this project, especially after we completed the final design of the building in 2018. I'd also like to specially mention Minister Desmond McKenzie, who has championed the cause for decades. And he is correct, because in the many visits I've made to the construction site, we have never had any issues. And I always got the impression that thanks to Minister McKenzie, there was somebody watching over us. I'd also like to thank Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Stoneroof. Minister Chang is right. She has provided steadfast guidance and leadership, and all of us knows that we need to get the job done. No excuses, no delays. So, thank you, PS, for heading the ship and steering us in the way that we should go. I'd also like to thank the steering committee that supervised and oversaw the construction project. That steering committee was chaired by Mr. Delroy Simpson, who supervised the construction. And I see many of the steering committee members in our audience today. You have our eternal gratitude for the work that you have done to make this construction not only possible, but completed. I hope you indulge me, because I have two personal thank yous I wish to make. First, my first thank you goes to Mr. Errol Alberga, the architect on this project. Many of you don't know that our current site, where the Forensic Science Institute is now located, that building was designed by Mr. Alberga. We moved into that building in 1991, and decades later, when we needed a permanent home for the forensic pathologists, we turned to Mr. Alberga and said, "You are our person. Let us," and he worked with us and our technical consultant from Canada, and we designed the building that was fit for purpose and to the specification that will make it not only a sustainable facility, but a modern and state-of-the-art one. So, Mr. Alberga, for all the years that we have needed and all the times that we have needed a permanent home, whether it's the Forensic Scientists at Boulevard or the Forensic Pathologists at Orange Street, you have been our person. One more personal thank you I'd like to make is to our esteemed Director of Public Prosecutions. Ms. Llewellyn has been a colleague and a friend to the Forensic Lab for years. And as the director for the last 20 years, I can recall the many instances my phone would ring and it would be Ms. Llewellyn. And she says, "Dr. Mowat, and she tells me exactly what she needs. And no equivocation whatsoever. She would then end the conversation by saying, drop everything. And our response has always been, consider it done. Yes, ma'am. And so, as she would often tell me, that she goes out into the trenches to fight for justice, and in doing so, she requires the evidence that our forensic pathologists and our forensic scientists will produce. And so, Madam DPP, I know you're leaving, but I want to say it has been an honor and a privilege of a lifetime to have worked with you. So, I'm just going to wrap up by saying, in acknowledgement and perhaps in fulfillment of Dr. Williams' prediction, we intend to welcome to this facility future forensic pathologists, collaborators from overseas, police officers, and countless others as we use the facility to conduct autopsies, train the future generation of forensic pathologists, conduct histology and microscopic examination that will bring closure to the families. We are going to use the state-of-the-art equipment and technology to determine how their loved ones died. And in keeping with our mandate and commitment to excellence, we will research, innovate, and teach. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate with us today. And as you join us for the tour, I will be able to give more details of the facilities and what it will be used for. But I wish to formally welcome you all to the Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time for Dr. Mahad. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of history. And you know, that comes with a responsibility, and that is to share the news and to tell others about the greatness that was unfolding here today. We will be doing the cutting of the ribbon and tour of the facility, but I have a few instructions. There are a specific group of persons that will be touring first. While they do that, however, we will have a tour of the facility on screen for you as you wait, so you can see exactly what it is like here. And then after the main party has toured, you will get an opportunity to tour individually and personally to see what it's like. So, persons who will be touring, of course, the ministers, Chang, Mackenzie, and Cuthbert Flynn, my two permanent secretaries that are here today, our mayor, the Chief Justice, our DPP, the Public Defender, CTD Simpson, and Pastor Downer. But before we do all of that, I'd like us to close the formalities with one of the most beautiful prayers that exists in the world today in the form of our national anthem. So please stand for the national anthem. Jamaica land we love. And so I invite Minister Chang. Dr. Mowat, of course, will be leading the tour. Ministers Chang Mackenzie, Cuthbert Flynn, Ambassador Stonebrew, CTD Simpson, Mayor Swaby, our Chief Justice, the Public Defender, our DPP, and Pastor Downer. The official ribbon cutting and tour, and while they make their way, we will be showing you on screen a little bit of what the facility looks like, and then as soon as that tour is completed, then you can advance to the building for your personal tour. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have an awesome day.
Welcome to the Forensic Pathology Autopsy Suite. Today, you'll be given a guided tour of our facilities, starting with this corridor on the left. Please follow me. The first office is the one that will be assigned to the police officers who are an integral part of our forensic protocol. On our left is the family meeting room, and the family meeting room is where members of the public will come to positively identify their loved ones who will be displayed in the viewing room on the other side of the glass, and they will make a positive identification of their loved one so the autopsy can proceed. We will now go through these doors to enter the main hub of our operations. This door is the viewing room proper. The bodies will be taken from storage, the cold room, into this room where the families on the other side of the screen will let us know the identity, prove the identity of their loved one. Along this corridor, we have what is called the body intake room. The body intake, I think we need to, The body intake room is where we will receive and dispatch the bodies. So the funeral homes will bring the bodies and enter via these metal doors, and the bodies will be taken in here, where they'll be processed and entered into our system. So we'll have software that will log each body, and then from here, once they are properly entered, we will take them up to storage. Here in this room, samples taken at postmortem for subsequent histology will be stored in this room. It's called our stock tissue room, and we'll store the tissues that are taken from the bodies. And this will be our histology lab when it's properly retrofitted and all the equipment installed. This will be the histology lab right next door to the stock tissue, where the tissues will be made into slides that we can examine. Continue. I hope beyond this glass, you'll see the door is locked, so somebody's going to have to open it in time. Our X-ray control room, where the radiographer, X-ray technician will control the X-ray machine that's located next door. As we pass this door, I want to introduce our DNA toxicology storage. So similar to how we have samples that are being stored for histology, we'll have freezers and fridges in here to store the DNA samples and the toxicology samples taken at postmortem before they're transferred to our campus on Hope Boulevard, where they'll undergo forensic examination. On our right-hand side, we have a series of 3 coolers where the bodies will be kept. One cooler will keep the bodies before postmortem. The second cooler will keep the bodies after postmortem, and we have a third designated cooler where we can use it to isolate and keep bodies that are known to be infectious and or decomposed. This is our state-of-the-art X-ray machine, and we have bought one that will allow us to X-ray the bodies and find the projectile with minimal manipulation. And so the X-ray machine actually rotates over the body so that all the required fields can be taken without necessitating a technician having to move the body. And it will be operated by the technician who's behind those glass doors. And we have lead line doors. At these 2 doors are lead lines, so they'll protect the staff from the radiation generated. This is our room for sluice, and sluice is just where we will do the washing of the various things that we'll need, mops and stuff. This is the room where our IT and other technical services will occupy. So we're going to have like air conditioning technicians and IT technicians. This is their offices. Next door to them is a series of offices where we'll have office spaces for pathologists, the radiographer, the histology technician, and this is their office suite area. At the end of this corridor is the main hub of our operation. It is the autopsy room. where fitted with 4 autopsy tables and state-of-the-art surgical lights, the autopsies will be conducted here, and the samples taken, whether it is for histology or toxicology or DNA. This is where the pathologist will operate from, literally operate from, to conduct the autopsies. When you finish, turn it off for a few minutes, or go on. So I don't know what happened here. So from the cold room, the bodies will be brought here on the gurneys, and they will, one at a time, be taken to an autopsy table where the pathologist, along with the autopsy technicians, will conduct the postmortems. We have an autopsy table located in what is termed our teaching / isolation room. So we've built the facility with the idea that we would use it for teaching. So an autopsy table is also installed in here, and there'll be a teaching gallery where future pathologists, police officers, collaborators can sit and view the autopsy via the multimedia equipment that we will set up to allow close-up and viewing of the autopsy as it takes place. So this will be our teaching room for the most part. Don't video me.